Love it or hate it, there's no denying that Five Nights at Freddy's has had a huge impact on the horror gaming genre, especially when it comes to independent games. And since becoming a smash hit back in 2014 with the release of the first title, the FNAF world has gone on to spawn 8 official games and 5 spin-offs, as well as 26 novel and graphic novel adaptations. And now, in 2023, the universe is expanding with an official movie coming from Blumhouse. So to celebrate the release of the movie, today we're going to be diving into the latest game in the franchise, Security Breach, and hunting down the Platinum Trophy. As well as being hunted, of course. No! Ugh. Before we get started, if you're someone who is constantly chasing the endorphins of that trophy unlock sound, just like me, then make sure you leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for a brand new trophy or achievement hunt every single week. And now, without much further ado, let's get into it. Security Breach opens by introducing us to the new cast of animatronics that we'll be facing off against while they totally rock out, dude. Returning favourites to the series are Chica and Freddy, who both now have glam outfits. And then joining them and replacing Bonnie and Foxy, we have Monty and Roxy. Wow, you guys really didn't push yourself when coming up with these new names, huh? During the rockout session, Freddy begins to feel a bit strange. Where have I seen something like this happen before? After passing out on stage, he wakes up back in his green room. No, isn't he adorable? To find that a child has managed to sneak into his stomach hatch. This child is Gregory, and is the character that we play as throughout the game. Honestly, it's not clear why Gregory decided to hop into Freddy's chest, and it doesn't feel like it ever gets explained later in the game, but all we know for now is that he's trying to evade the capture of the security guard, Vanessa. Freddy agrees to help us escape at the main entrance, but tells us that we need a photo pass to release him from his room, and gives us a Faz watch so that we can communicate with him on our journey. It doesn't take us long to find one at all, and we have him out in no time. Oh, I'm climbing back in here, am I? Okay, yeah, that's a totally normal thing to do. To get to the main entrance, Freddy takes us through the service tunnels underneath the Pizzaplex, the building in which the game takes place. But before we can reach our destination, Freddy loses power and has to enter a recharge cycle. This means that we are left to our own devices and have to reach the exit alone. And pretty soon we come across our first obstacle, Chica, giving me the chance to show off my god-tier gaming skills. Okay, so if I... Oh, she goes... Did she see me? Nah. Kneel before my gaming prowess, peasants. By getting caught by Chica and getting jump scared, we unlock our first trophy of the run. Surprise! And now, because my blood pressure wasn't high enough apparently, the game decides to ramp up the tension by having both Chica and Monty chase us through the tunnels until we take refuge inside a security office. Inside, we earn our second trophy, Dodge and Weave, for successfully evading a bot in chase. To help us escape, Freddy gives us access to the Pizzaplex's security camera system, and we manage to sneak past Chica and Monty pretty quickly. But not quick enough, as by the time we get to the main entrance, the shutters have come down and we are left trapped within the Freddy Fazbear Pizzaplex. Freddy tells us that the doors will reopen at 6 AM, so as long as we can survive the night, we will be able to escape then. Where have I heard that one before? Our first objective of the night is to make it to the atrium, but while trying to upgrade our ticket to allow us access, we manage to acquire a pass to the daycare, where Freddy says we can find a security badge. I tell you what, Freddy, why don't you get off your metal behind and do something for once, eh? Once we've acquired the badge, we are faced with a sequence in which we have to complete a set task whilst being chased down by an enemy, the first of many such sequences that we will encounter in this game. In this one, our goal is to switch on 5 generators, whilst Moon, the Hyde to Sun's Jekyll, hunts us. The generators are located within these playhouse structures, and once I'd located each gen and died a couple of times, I managed to formulate a plan. Moon can't access the structures until you've switched on 3 gens, so I made sure I targeted the ones that were most difficult to access before sprinting to the other 2 and finally completing the task. This was a really fun sequence to complete and sets the game up nicely. Sure, it was stressful and challenging, but it relied on you learning locations and the mechanics of the enemy, rather than just sheer luck like some of the later ones do. Now that we've finished, Sun kicks us out of the daycare and Freddy comes to rescue us from the clutches of the other animatronics. Finally, with the first hour nearly over, Freddy takes us to a recharge station, where we get our first glimpse of a strange rabbit skipping through the halls. But even though it's literally right in front of us, Freddy doesn't see it, so the identity of this new character remains a mystery for now. The time ticks over to 1 AM, and we're awarded the sleepover trophy for escaping the daycare. The game then gives us two options to explore as possible means of escape: the main loading dock or a fire escape in the prize counter on the 3rd floor. But before we choose, we need to acquire a map. Okay, sounds easy enough. Ah!
Please take this map. Take a map.
I'm gonna take that map, and I'm gonna beat you to death with it. We decide to head up to the prize counter and sneak past Roxy and some patrolling security bots to reach the security office. And it's here that we're gifted with my favorite sequence of the game. Once we take the badge, the office goes into lockdown, and Monty and Roxy attempt to attack us. To stop them, we need to use the cameras around the office to watch their movements and then close the doors before they can get in. Why was such a simple sequence my favorite? Because it felt like a love letter to the original game concept whilst adding its own free roam twist. I was absolutely zoned in whilst playing it, but I was having a blast. Once we've outlasted the lockdown and the animatronics have apparently found something better to do, we're awarded false alarm. Seriously, I know I look really unhappy here, but I promise I enjoyed it. We sneak past Roxy again to eventually reach the fire exit, which turns out to be locked. Because of course it is. Who needs an emergency fire escape anyways? Freddy tells us to take the elevator down to meet him so we can think up another plan. No problemo. Be right there, hun.
Free map.
No, I don't want it, bro. I don't want them a free map. Can you just piss off? Hello? BRB, just gonna Google how to climb into a game so I can punch Mattbot in the face. Vanessa takes us down to Lost and Found and tells us to wait there until someone can come and pick us up. We also get another glimpse of the bunny character, who asks us if we're having fun yet. Well, so far I've been jump scared by a chicken, a piece of shit, and a white lady, so yeah, having a blast, love. We find a screwdriver and use it to escape before heading to Roxy Raceway to meet Freddy, who apparently had a bit too much to drink. He tells us that something is wrong with him and he needs to be repaired down in parts and services. So after finding a Showtime disc and using it to activate the main stage lift, we head down to get him fixed up. Unfortunately, this falls at the end of the hour, meaning that Moon is now out to get us. Fuck you, Freddy, it's every man for himself now. Oh shit. Is it just me who found that absolutely hilarious? Anyway, time to save Freddy. What? Ah!
Hi, please take this map. Take a map.
Yeah, well, that's what I get for leaving him behind, I guess. And now on to what is easily the scariest section of this entire game. In order to save Freddy, we need to find an upgrade for our security badge so that we can access parts and services. The upgrade is in these tunnels somewhere, along with these pieces of pure nightmare fuel. The way they work is simple. When you're not looking, they move, and they move closer and closer to you. Coupled with the darkness and the claustrophobia of the tunnels, this made for some absolutely heart-pounding moments. Bro, this is not fair, bro. Brosif. Bravo game. Bravo. We return to parts and services with the new security badge to find Vanessa basically putting Freddy under torture for information about us. Apparently there's no record of Gregory ever entering the Pizzaplex. Weird. Once she's gone, we play one of the most stressful games of Simon Says that I've ever played in my life in order to reattach Freddy's head. Gregory then makes the very good point that it would be nice if we had something to use against the multitude of bots running around the joint, and Freddy gives us two options, a Phaser Blaster or a Phascam. Basically, both will work to stun the bots for a short period of time, with the Fazcam stun lasting longer and having the possibility to affect multiple bots around you, but only featuring one shot before an extensive recharge time. In contrast, the Phaser Blaster is more precise with its shot and features a shorter stun, but gives more shots before having to recharge. In order to get the Platinum trophy, I knew I'd have to go back and get both of them anyways, so I decided to start with the Phaser Blaster to give myself more opportunities to hit shots. No! What? I don't play FPS games, okay? Before any of that though, we unlock our next trophy, Party Time, for finding the party pass in Chica's green room, which we use to access Phaser Blast. And then by playing Capture the Flag against literal bots, like the person watching this video, and winning, we're rewarded with our very own Phaser Blaster and the Laser Ace trophy. GG easy, noobs. Earlier in the game, we learned that each of the 3 animatronics have a special ability associated with a body part of theirs. Chica has an enhanced voice box, Roxy has eyes that can see through walls, and Monty has claws that are more powerful than the others. Upon learning this, Gregory decides it would be a super duper idea if Freddy had those upgrades, and so decides that he needs to murder and harvest the organs of each of them, starting with Chica. Are we sure Gregory is just a kid lost in a pizzaplex and not a serial killer escaped from prison? We hatch a plan to decommission Chica and put it into action. Knowing that Chica loves pizza and goes crazy for it, we take some of Monty's mystery mix down to the kitchens with the intent of luring her into a trash compactor. Yeah, seriously, does someone want to check the police scanners for mentions of this kid? Along the way, we find ourselves locked in a security office with Chica outside and must use a pizza making bot to lure her away so that we can escape. This is a bit of a random sequence, all things considered, but it does earn us the trophy, Pizza Party. And then it's finally time to take out Chica and harvest her voice box. Well, kind of take her out. If anything, we just make her infinitely more terrifying, because now she chases us whilst making loud mechanical noises instead of using words. Great. Once we've grabbed what we need, we earn Speak No Evil. Alright, time to install the voice box in Freddy. Shouldn't be a problem, we're experts with Simon Says after all. Or we'll go with second time's the charm.
It was Chica's. Please be honest.
Oh my days, that voice is so much worse. Please immediately cease from talking forever. Alrighty, one down, but our bloodlust isn't satiated yet. Time to harvest Roxy. We start hatching our plan at Roxy's Raceway, where we learn that Roxy has a habit of attacking cars when they drive on the track without her. Looks like we have our plan. But to drive a cart, we need an assistant bot, because we're a child and too small, even though we're in the middle of devising a kill plan, but sure. But the only one we can find is missing a head. Unfortunately, the only head we can find is damaged, so Freddy tells us to take it up to the security office in the West Arcade and get it repaired. I've talked about the sequences I loved whilst playing this game, so now let's talk about one that I despised with every fibre of my being. In order to turn on the power in the security office, we need to find and switch on 3 breakers hidden throughout the arcade. Whilst dodging hundreds of these security bots, Chica, Monty, and this new friendly chap, the DJ, who at one point glitched out and almost trapped me in the frickin' bathroom. With so many enemies around, I quickly figured out that really the only viable tactic was to just sprint through the arcade and hope for the best. And after about an hour of dying, retrying, and slowly losing my marbles, I finally made it back to the security office, grabbed the now fixed head, and unlocked a whoop 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 for escaping the arcade. Arcades are supposed to be fun, you assholes. With the head acquired and attached, we were now ready to hit the road. Hola! Oh god. Damn, Gregory, I said hit the road, not Roxy. We earn our next trophy, See No Evil, once we've lovingly ripped out Roxy's eyes. Another bout of stress with Simon Says, another upgrade complete, but before we can complete the set, we notice the time, and with 6 AM just minutes away, we sprint to the exit to finally escape.
Freddy, it's open, let's go!
No, I cannot exit this facility.
If I leave now, nothing will change, will it? There will be more disappearances.
Gregory, you have a choice to make. The door is open, and you can go. Or you can continue to investigate the secrets of the Pizzaplex.
Wait, that's it? Like, technically, we could end the game right here? What exactly was the story supposed to be here? We went from trying to escape to gleefully carving up animatronics, and now we're talking about disappearances? I'd put money on you being the reason for those disappearances, Gregory, you insatiable madman. Of course, with so much still left to do, we stay in the Pizzaplex to continue our trophy hunting journey, starting with Superstar, which we get for surviving until 6 AM. Pleased with our choice, Freddy gives us a party pass, which we can use to hunt down Monty and complete our trio of murders. Our first stop is Monty Golf, which we access with our party pass, where we acquire the Fazcam. We also grab our final security badge upgrade, earning us the Security Breached trophy. Roll credits. The next step is to head to Mazercise, where we'll learn how to take out Monty. Along the way, we make a few pit stops to grab some extra trophies. By stopping in at the bakery behind Monty Golf for a quick snack, we earn no room for dessert. Speak for yourself. Everyone knows that you have a separate stomach for dessert, thank you very much. And then we accidentally earn Say Cheese for stunning 4 bots at the same time with the Fazcam. We then take our snack to the theatre to watch a show, but the talent is absolutely terrible, and so we decide to shoot it in the face instead, earning us Heckler. Now, back to Monty. In order to decommission him, we need to access the catwalks above Monty Golf, which we do by finding a vent in Mazercise. Once there, we use the various guns dotted around the catwalk to fill up the splash bucket. This is all while Monty is persistently chasing us. And because you're not able to save your game as frequently after 6 AM, and I had a lot of progress on the line if he caught and killed me, yeah, you could say it was a little bit stressful. But we soon reach the required fill level and lure Monty into our trap. So I was on the right track, I just wanted to make like triple sure. Jesus, that's fucking a bit brutal, isn't it? And we earn the trophies Claw No Evil for decommissioning Monty and Shattered Dreams for taking out all 3. You call it Shattered Dreams, I call it Gregory facing 3 life sentences, potato potato. With all upgrades installed on Freddy, we had everything we needed to dive into the collectibles portion of our trophy hunting. Overall in Security Breach, there are 127 collectibles to be found throughout the game, with 50 of these being messages, which look like duffel bags, and the remaining 77 being prize boxes. As I was playing through the story, I was making a conscious effort to grab whichever ones I came across. But in order to find them all, you need to first obtain the claw and voice box upgrades that allow you to access closed off areas. Also, the ocular upgrade gives you the ability to see the prize boxes through walls across the map, which is super helpful, as locating all 77 did eventually become a real chore. Along the way, we also made sure to sweep through a couple of other challenges that we needed to complete for various trophies. First up, we headed back to Roxy's Raceway and down to this elevator shaft. By heading inside and clicking the button, we earn hazard pay and also trigger the option to use the elevator, which is good for only 1 trip. Now, because I was only interested in the trophy hunt and unfortunately just didn't have time to find every possible ending of this game, I said no. I believe saying yes takes you down to play through one of the endings involving Burn Trap, a more destroyed version of Springtrap. If you are interested in seeing all of the possible endings of this game, I'll leave a link in the description for you to check out, as I will only be completing the good ending. Back to the trophies, and there are a few places in the game where you can access and play on arcade machines. 2 of these machines feature Princess Quest and its sequel, and by playing and completing them both, we earn Double-Edged Sword. There are a few more machines to get our hands on, and we'll touch on each of these later in the video. One of the possible things to find in the prize boxes we're currently hunting for are upgrades for your character, improving your speed, stamina, etc. 4 of these upgrades are Fizzy Fazz drinks, with 1 for each of the animatronics. By finding all of them, we unlock Sugar High. Most of the collectibles are easily accessed once you've located them, but there are a couple which are locked behind a hidden door in the daycare theatre. To unlock it, we need to find and take a picture of 4 different cutouts scattered around the Pizzaplex. Inside, we find what seems to be an abandoned storage room. Along with the collectibles, we also find another arcade machine for a game called Balloon World. The game is basically Flappy Bird, and unlike the Princess Quest games, doesn't have an ending for us to reach. Instead, to earn our trophy, we need to fly through this purple glitch that eventually appears. Doing so sends us briefly to hell and unlocks Up, Up and Away. The final arcade machine to find is in Monty Golf, and when we find it, we get to play Monty Golf. Sure, we've got the real thing in front of us, but that's not good enough for us gamers. To earn the trophy, all we need to do is play a game and finish with a score that's under par. And as you can see, I did this with ease. Alright, what are you doing, lad? Triple bogey, oh my god. Oh, come on, man. Alright, look, it took me 2 tries, okay? But we did eventually finish with a score of 19, earning us under par. Only a few more trophies left to earn, and after traipsing around the Pizzaplex for a couple of hours, we managed to check 2 more off the list. The first one was awarded to us after finding all of the duffel bag messages, called Lost and Found. And then, pretty soon after, we grabbed the final prize box to unlock Very Important Person. The relief in my face is hilarious to watch back. And now, we have just 1 more trophy to mop up before we activate the ending of the game and finish our run. Throughout the Pizzaplex, there are various distractions that you can use to help you evade your enemies. One such distraction type is a pile of plates. By smashing these pile of plates 10 times, we earn ourselves Oppa! I honestly thought I'd get this one naturally through my playthrough of the story, but it was actually rare for me to use the distractions as they really didn't seem to work for me. So, on to the finale. By completing the Princess Quest arcade games and finding Vanny's secret hideout behind Fazzablast, we unlock the option of Vanny to appear when we try and leave the Pizzaplex. By selecting it and watching a cutscene of Freddy being bullied by some security bots, we earn I Am Not Me. Then, we sprint to Vanny's hideout, where we find a 3rd Princess Quest arcade machine. We dive right in, play through the game, which raises more questions than it answers, and then trigger the final cutscene. Are you having fun yet? Hide and seek master, and then... Oh, that was such a pain in the ass. Listen, I'm super psyched to have gotten the platinum and all, but can we take a moment to talk about the creative decision here to end the game with a freaking comic book? It's like the devs just ran out of budget for the last part and just colored in their storyboards for the sequence instead of animating them. I'm going to get into the overall story and my opinions on it, but first, it's time to say, another trophy hunt completed. If I'm being honest, I actually didn't expect to like Security Breach as much as I did. I've never really been an avid player of the FNAF franchise, and so didn't think this one would really stick out for me. But I was wrong. It was an absolute blast. I loved the design of the game and the location we're in. Some of the sequences were genuinely terrifying, and the game managed to keep me on edge and very stressed throughout. I think this game is a really nice addition and expansion of the FNAF world. Well, it could have been. But there is one major flaw that lets it down: the story. or to be more specific, the complete lack of coherence in the story. We start out learning that Gregory has hidden inside Freddy for some reason, and that the security guard is searching for him, but then find out that there was no record of Gregory in the system. So how did he get into the Pizzaplex in the first place? And more importantly, why? His objective isn't mentioned at all, and then at the very end of the game, we get this random line about children disappearing? Is that why you're here? Why didn't you mention that before? And then we have Vanny, who is perhaps one of the most poorly executed villains I've ever seen in a video game. She literally does nothing. We learn nothing about her except that she might be the security guard in disguise, and then she's defeated when we play an arcade game? I know that FNAF games usually lean on people searching up the deeper lore to fully understand what's happening, but if you're like me and just played the game and finished with the good ending, you wouldn't really have had the best time. It seems like the creators were setting up a completely different story in the earlier sections of the game, but then either didn't have time to execute it or something else happened that resulted in a garbled, hastily thrown together mess of an ending. Like, I know I'm being quite critical here, but story is important to me in gaming. If I can't connect with what's happening and care about the characters, why would I bother playing? Another major issue I had with the game was how glitchy and buggy it was at times, especially when it came to Chica. There were multiple instances that occurred after 6 AM, when I couldn't save as frequently, in which Chica did something that she shouldn't have been able to do that resulted in me getting screwed over. For example, here she's reacting to me and chasing me even though I'm hiding in Freddy, and she doesn't stop, resulting in a 20-minute chase through the loading docks where at one point she manages to trap me inside a bathroom. As you can see, I was very pleased about this development. It is 2 AM. I am trying to fucking grind this trophy out, and because the fucking thing is a glitchy mess, she should not be able to chase me and Freddy. None of the others chase me and Freddy. None of them. So what am I going to do? I'm going to have to restart the checkpoint, which means I lose all of the fucking progress. I've literally just spent an hour doing this. It's a real shame that these things brought the experience down so heavily, because Security Breach had the building blocks to be the best FNAF game ever created, aside from the first one, of course. In terms of the trophies, they posed no problem whatsoever. I had a bit of trouble with some of the collectibles not being where they were supposed to be, but I'm actually someone who enjoys running through and collecting things in games, so it wasn't any major issue. You get the majority of the other trophies through just completing the story, and the only real ones you have to plan for are the ones relating to the ending. I think I made it easier for myself by working them all into one playthrough, which I'd recommend as long as you don't mind potentially dying or being chased more frequently, but you could also just create a save file once you've hit 6 AM to jump back into for a different ending. Security Breach does have a DLC called Ruin, which I'm going to be playing and releasing exclusively on my Patreon, so make sure you keep an eye out for the launch announcement of that in the next week or so. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please let me know by leaving a like and a comment down below. Also, if you would like to see more horror games from me on this channel, let me know in the comments which ones, and subscribe to the channel for a brand new trophy or achievement hunt every single week. Have a great day, and happy hunting.